Down south, a wonderful school of blue parrotfish was scouring the sandy shallows ahead of us, so we just parked and waited for them to get closer. The coloring on blue parrotfish is just beautiful. When they were done with that area, they moved over to the reef, where they spread a little sand themselves. The coral they eat when scraping algae off the reef gets ground up and comes out as fine white sand. According to a Smithsonian Institute article, in 1 year, one large parrotfish can produce 1,000 pounds of sand. And this group was manufacturing quite a bit. We've shown peanut worms before, and to be honest, I thought they were all about the diameter of a pencil. That is, until Leslie spotted this monstrosity. I have no idea how long it was, but its diameter was about the size of a small bicycle inner tube and had a very interesting pattern. We were diving with friends and passed it along to the others. But then Leslie noticed an orange cloud of what appeared to be gametes emerge and called me back over. It seems this peanut worm was spawning. Amazing. There were 2 ciliated comb jelly blooms in March. During the first one, which lasted several days, we really only noticed spot-winged comb jellies. However, the second bloom was even better, because we got several first-time captures, including this cigar comb jelly, appropriately named because it looks like a cigar, if that cigar were transparent and had rows of waving filaments. The second new jelly we saw is called a flattened helmet comb, again named for its distinctive shape. The undulating cilia propelling each jelly through the water column are just gorgeous when they catch the sun's rays. I know I've said this about a few different animals, but I really could watch these all day. The last one we saw was this incredible spotted comb jelly. They look somewhat similar to spot wing comb jellies, but these have raised spots all over their bodies, and the 4 tentacles appear to be longer and thinner. Here's one close up. I did have one night dive with several marine creatures that I couldn't quite identify, so I thought I might share them here in case one of you could point me in the right direction. I believe this red thing is some kind of oyster. It was embedded in a coral head and was about 1.5 inches in diameter. The mouth sort of looks like that of an Atlantic thorny oyster, so perhaps this might be a juvenile, or it could be something else. If you have any suggestions, please leave me a comment below. I also saw this thing trying to dig into the sand. The body looks a bit flat and reminded me of a moray eel. Someone else suggested it could possibly be a larval spotted snake eel. The evenly spaced spots should be a giveaway, but I haven't been able to find anything that comes close to matching it. Again, please leave a comment below if you have any ideas. The last unidentified sea creature is this super tiny jellyfish moving about in the shallow water column. It was less than 1/2 inch in diameter, and while the orange spots stand out, there doesn't seem to be a match in any of my resources. Suggestions are appreciated. And now, on to the behavior section. Okay, settle in, because this is a long one. We noticed a huge cloud of sand near the drop-off and went in to investigate. It turns out that the entire cloud was generated by one very hungry and persistent spotted eagle ray. Check out how far into the sand it was digging. There must have been something tasty there, because it came by again and again. I was curious about what it was looking for, so I swam in afterward to examine the crater and was just amazed by what I saw. Because it was digging along the drop-off, the higher part of the hole kept collapsing into the lower part of the hole, exposing a vast network of tunnels through which some sea life moves and others live in. There were so many. The next time you swim out over sandy shallows, take some time to imagine just how much sea life is just under the surface, out of sight. On a couple of dives over several days at the same dive location, we saw a flame box crab hunting in the shallows. Each time, as we got closer, we noticed it was accompanied by several flounders following diligently, waiting for something to pop out of the sand so they can swoop in and grab it. We haven't really noticed that combination working together as a hunting team before, however it happened again later in the month. It was also at the same site, so perhaps these guys all know each other. But we will be on the lookout for more occurrences both here and at other sites. I saw this beautiful juvenile French angelfish in the shallows and moved in for a closer shot. To my surprise, a yellow goatfish just swam right in for a cleaning, so I backed away a bit and let them do their thing. Goatfish have the ability to change color, and we frequently see them switch from their usual white coloring to a reddish hue, both when getting cleaned and sometimes when they're feeding. All that jellyfish action last month meant we were able to see some nice behaviors. Initially, I didn't recognize this jelly, so I started shooting it thinking it would be a nice first-time capture. Eventually, the wings unfurled, revealing itself to be a spot-winged comb jelly. Well, this one didn't have spots yet. We're not sure why the wings were folded in. Perhaps it was sleeping, or maybe it was for protection. Regardless, it was pretty awesome to see. Typically, jellies eat plankton, larval fish, and larval crabs. There were a couple of times we saw cigar combs contorting and what looked like reaching out, perhaps to grab tiny morsels from the water column or just changing their direction. When competition for food increases, say when a large bloom like this occurs, they will even eat other jellies. This interaction between a juvenile spot-winged comb jelly and an adult flattened helmet comb jelly was a non-starter given how much bigger the helmet was. I shot this clip a few minutes later, so I'm pretty sure it wasn't the same pair, but it would be a great revenge story. In this clip, a flattened helmet comb wasn't so flat anymore, as it appears to have swallowed a smaller spot-winged comb jelly. Finally, we have shown long trails of needlefish swimming before. Typically, they seem to be creating a floating highway similar to what you might see in some movie involving a city on a distant planet. This group, however, was just hanging out in the shallows. As we swam into the area, they spread out, but didn't leave, which was surprising. While they kept their distance, we found ourselves surrounded by hundreds of needlefish, forming a huge circle around us. After sharing a moment with them, we went about our business. As did they. Well, we may as well throw a jelly or two into the uncommon animal section as well. This may look like a transparent ribbon floating with the current, but it is actually a Venus girdle jelly. Venus girdles are also in the comb jelly family, with cilia running up and down the sides. Fun fact, although the ones we saw were between 8 and 16 inches, they can grow up to 3¼ feet in length. The last red spot comb jelly we saw was in July 2023, so it was awesome to see another in the latest bloom. If there was one theme from all the jellies in this video, it's to take some time throughout each dive and check out what's floating around you. Okay, one more floating animal. And technically, these don't fall into the classic definition of uncommon because we see them on most dives. That said, we rarely show them, so here's another round of salps. There are lots of different subfamilies and genuses, and we're not sure what kinds these are, but they are fascinating. Doesn't this one look like Christmas tree lights? The water column can be just as exciting at night as well. We showed a Leptocephalus larva 6 months ago, but now I have the ability to film at 120 frames per second. It's hard to tell when they're at this stage, but the bifurcated tails suggest they may grow up to be tarpon, ladyfish, or bonefish. Oh, hey, check out all the plankton and particulates in the water. Focusing in that was fun. Continuing with the night dive animals, this is a cryptic teardrop crab. You can often find them crawling on sponges and coral. Although their bright red colors really stand out, if you look closely, you can see their claw arms are purple. Also, teardrop crabs are small, only growing to about 3/4 of an inch. Batwing coral crabs, on the other hand, are much larger, and I don't mean to shame them here, kind of stocky. That said, the gradient colors of red, orange, yellow, and purple makes this one stunning crustacean. The last juvenile sunshinefish we saw was 2 years ago, and that was on Curacao. The split-level coloring of yellow on top and blue on the bottom stood out and caught my attention. FYI, sunshinefish fall into the chromis family. Speaking of standing out, orange ball corallimorphs get their name from the orange balls at the end of their translucent tentacles that, to me, are much more reminiscent of anemone than other corallimorphs. Finally, this little guy is a two-claw shrimp, hiding out inside a branching vase sponge. Now, all shrimps have 2 claws, so the name isn't that descriptive. But make sure you check inside sponges as you swim over them. You never know what you might find. We don't see chain moray eels that often. In fact, we only saw 2 last month. We know that because we record all of the less common animals we see in our Sea Life Frequency Tracker, which, by the way, is now 6 months old. This is the daily view, and it provides a comprehensive list of animals we recorded on each dive in March. The monthly view now shows almost 200 different animals we don't see every day, going back to October 2024. The yellow column indicates how many days it has been since each creature was last spotted. Feel free to pause and/or go back to review either spreadsheet more closely to find new items for your Sea Life Spotting Bingo card. We will close, as we always do, with a subscription appeal. To garner even more goodwill, the background videos this time will be a collection of items we've picked up off the reef. And yes, I did find a fiver, sometimes referred to as a fin, on a Bachelor's Beach night dive. Although, technically, that was in February. So, if you enjoyed this content, appreciate the effort it takes to make these videos, or just feel like supporting a random scuba diving channel on YouTube, consider subscribing to Tropic Lens. Likes and comments are also welcome. Thanks! Smiley face.